Hey friends, it's so great to have you here. My name's Allie and I make videos about entertainment and film and pop culture and just being a nerd in general. So it makes a lot of sense why I ended up working at Disney. So in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience working there, how I got the job, what it was like when I started, some of my favorite memories. And then if you want to, maybe I'll make a part 2 about sort of my pros and cons of working there and maybe like a more subjective analysis. But in this one, just sit back, get a snack, maybe get like a hot drink or something. This is genuinely one of my favorite mugs. I don't own much Disney merch, but this is my girl. Let me tell you about how I became a Disney princess. So the first time that I heard about this job was actually from my dad's hairdresser. I guess he'd been telling her that he was taking his family on vacation to Florida to go to Disney World and Universal, and she was like, oh, my sister works there. She plays Belle. Maybe you'll see her. And I remember being maybe 12 or 13 at the time and hearing that and just thinking oh my God, I didn't even think that was a real job. I'd gone to the parks a few times when I was younger because we lived in Arizona and it wasn't that far away. And of course I loved meeting the princesses, what little girl doesn't? But Disneyland had been so removed from my mind because now we lived in Ohio. Obviously we didn't go very often. My dad got discounted tickets through work or through a friend. Somehow we were able to go. And I remember going that time and kind of just looking at the princesses and being oh my God, that's literally someone's sister. That's a real person. This is a real job. It kind of blew my mind. But in high school, I was very reserved. I had a lot of anxiety, and I never really saw myself as pretty or even remotely someone who could do that job. Honestly, before I worked at Disney, I had never worn makeup other than a tinted brow gel and mascara. And I'm not even trying to be not like other girls, a pick me, genuinely no. But I just had it wasn't even a thought in my mind. So eventually I went to college in Southern California. And freshman year, I saw a YouTube video by this girl, Kenzie, who was talking about how she worked at Disneyland playing Ariel. And her videos were just so fun, and I loved her personality, and she just seemed like such a kind person in the way she talked about Disney. So freshman year, I went to an audition. Now, people kind of jokingly call it the cattle call, but it's not a joke. It's pretty crazy. They don't do this anymore, but you would show up there, they give you a number, you stand in individual lines of 10. And then the casting directors will go down the line. They'll ask you to say your name and then a fun fact. So they'll tell you the fun fact. But for me, it was, what's your favorite Halloween candy, I think. So when they get to you, you look them in the eye and you smile and you try to stop sweating. And you go, hi, my name's Allie, and my favorite Halloween candy is Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. And then they look at you, and then they're kind of making notes, and then they move on to the next girl. And then once they get to the end of the line, you all stand there, they go in the corner, and they whisper and look at each other. And now, once I worked at the park, I knew these two women, so whatever. But when you're just standing there, you're who are these people? And then they'll say, okay, we'll be taking numbers 67 and 73. Everyone else can go home. Or sometimes they'll be okay, we're not going to keep any of you guys. Have a great rest of your day. And then you go home. So when I went this first time, the expectations were very low. I was standing in the line. They were looking at their clipboard, whispering in the corner. I think my mouth was literally twitching from smiling so hard. I would eventually develop that muscle. But I was literally standing there and then they just go, okay, we'll keep number 68. I think that was my number. So I was what the? Okay. And I go into this next room. They take a photo of you. They measure you. And then we all stood there, the other girls and guys who made it to the next room. We all just kind of looked at each other and we're who do you think they want you as? That's another thing. I had no idea which character I thought I could be. And when you're waiting, sometimes people try to tell you oh, you could definitely be a good Anna. I just always was oh, I could be Anna because I have freckles. So I had no idea what character they wanted me to be, anything like that. I was literally just there. So then anyway, you get to the second room, they look at everyone, And then they're like, okay, we're going to be keeping, and then they listed literally like 10 people. I was not one of them. And then they sent everyone else home. And I was like, okay, I mean, that was kind of fun. Like, they're playing Disney music. It's very like, it's not bad. Like talking to the other people there, there's such like a nervous energy, but everyone's really excited. So it's fun. It was a good experience. And then I left and I was like, okay. I didn't think about it much for another year or so just because I got so busy with school and working and internships and everything. So then junior year, I saw that they had now switched it to an online submission process. So I just was like, okay, I'll try it one more time, whatever. I uploaded my photos online. I remember them so clearly. I was wearing like a sweatshirt, leggings, bare feet, literally taken on photo booth, like in my college bedroom with like my roommate in the back, just me looking at the camera, like. And then for some reason, I got an email a few days later asking me to come in for a callback. And they told me that they wanted me to read for Elsa. And I was like, okay, like this is interesting. Now, Frozen 2 had come out like a few weeks before, and I obviously hadn't seen it, as a junior in college. So I was like, I gotta take my ass to the theater. So I went after class one day, like all by myself, went like sat in like the back row and was like taking notes, being like, okay, Elsa, okay. Because I remember they told me like try to mimic her, the way she talks, the way she moves. So I was like just sitting there being like, okay, I think she does like this with her hands a lot. Like she's really, she's very demure. So then I skipped class, sorry, Professor Finch, and showed up to the audition. It was kind of similar to the first one where they line you up and they like take photos of you. And then we had to learn a dance. Some people say that they're bad at dancing as like a joke, like whatever. It's like not a joke to me. Like I truly am quite bad. Unless I'm like 3 tequila sodas deep, but it doesn't make it better. It just makes me not think about it. So we had to learn like a little like jig or something. And there were other girls there that were like so good, like professional dancers. And I was just there like flailing. It was so bad. I was like, okay, at least I know I'm a pretty good speaker. Like at this point in my life, I was a little bit more confident. And I'm kind of a silly goose. Like if you let me improv, I'm going to improv. I got into the room and the 2 women who audition you just started like asking me questions that a child would ask one of these characters. So Elsa, when you were frozen, did you die? Elsa, are you the real Elsa? Like things like that. And you just had to kind of think of things to say back and then like tie it back to the story and just like change the topic. And as someone who had social anxiety at the time, I was like, oh, I'm so good at this. Like I love trying to control the conversation. It like went fine. I had a good time. Went home. Well, first I went and got churro toffee from Disneyland, and then I went home. And I got a call from HR like a few days later offering me a part-time position. And I was just like, I was over the moon. I was so excited. I was like, I started crying. I like called my mom. I was like, I'm going to be a Disney princess. Like, what the? And she sent me like these photos of me meeting them as a little kid. And it was just so cute and like full circle. And then I started training. So the training process at Disneyland is pretty fun, honestly. Like for any role, you have to go do traditions, which is their main like onboarding class where you get a whole tour of going backstage at Disneyland and seeing the park from like that other perspective. And you just meet like a lot of really interesting people that are also working there. And if there's one thing about Disney like coworkers is like they're gonna be silly, like we're gonna be yapping. It's gonna be like unserious, like silly goose hour. And it was just so fun. So after like the initial traditions onboarding, then you do your more specialized training. The way that like the performing at Disneyland works, there's like the fur characters and then there's the face characters. So fur is like Minnie and Mickey and everyone who's like in one of the costumes. And then the face characters are people who have their faces out and they're usually wearing a wig and then a costume. And they talk. The fur characters don't talk. So very, very different training, but we all have the same break rooms. So you do get to know those people really well too, and they're like the best. And there's a lot of face characters who also do fur. So we all work together. I was so excited for the face character training. I just didn't know what to expect. I was really excited to put on the wig, do like whatever makeup they wanted to teach me how to do, and wear the dress. I was like hoping for that day, because in the back of my head, I was just thinking like, when they see me in this wig, they're gonna yank it off my head and send me home, because the imposter syndrome there is crazy when you're looking around at like the other girls they casted and you're just like, these girls are so much more beautiful than me. Like there were actual models that worked there, like beauty queens, people who are like professionally pretty. You do feel like crazy imposter syndrome working there. And during training, I was just like, someone's gonna find out that I'm not supposed to be here and they're gonna send me away. So training was really fun. It was very intense and like harder than I thought. You get a lot of criticism, but they teach you so many like just useful things of how to tell a story, how to project your voice, how to speak confidently, how to like speak like your character, how to walk like your character. And low-key, these were things that I just needed to learn as like an adult woman, to like how to like walk like a princess, how to have good posture, all these sorts of things. So after I did like, I think it was like 3 days of training as Elsa, they put me in the Elsa wig and the makeup, and I was looking in the mirror being like, some white hair, some very white hair. Then I got a call from casting the day after that being like, hey girl, so we're actually gonna switch you to Aurora. I was so gagged. I was like, oh, like it's over. Like I thought that I was doing bad. They're like, it's not bad. Like I think this will just be a better like fit, a better look. All right. So then I got switched to Aurora, which meant I had to redo the training with another group. So they were training like 2 groups that were like on 2 different schedules. So I just joined the other group. And this other group was like way more chill. It was a lot of non-princess characters. It was like Star Wars characters or some Marvel people. And then I ended up meeting my like now best friend and like roommate in this group too. So like it ended up working out totally fine. I think I just need to like center this story by mentioning that all of this was happening in February 2020. Like what was happening then? I don't know. Nothing bad. So I remember when I was getting to my like final days of training as Aurora, it was March 13th. Isn't that crazy? After I did my wig, my makeup, my dress, I like had the full Aurora fit on for the first time, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. I loved it. I felt like I looked like her actually, and I was like, okay, we're chilling. I felt good in the character, whatever. We get a call. The park's closed. There's a pandemic. Oh my God. My school shuts down. I have to go back home. And Disneyland closes for many, many months. I know everyone took a lot of L's during COVID, but like that's actually really wild. And then I got a call from Disney around like, I think it was like August or September of that year, saying, hey, so because the park is still closed, we don't know when it's going to reopen. We're going to be laying off like a lot of our employees. So I was just sitting there like on the phone being like, all right, like, thank you, like hang up, just like in shock. Like, so I guess that's never going to happen. And I was like, I'm never even going to be able to get to tell people that I was a Disney princess at Disneyland because I have no proof. I have no photos. No one's going to believe me. What a crazy story. Like, I know how to do the signature. Like, guys, please believe me. I know the pose. Like, let me hit that. So I just kind of had to like let that dream go. It was fine. I had my degree. I got really focused on my degree, on like trying to get a job after college, all that. I graduated and I moved to LA to start looking for my job. I was like a few weeks into job hunting when I got a call from Disney saying, "Hey, we're going to be calling people back. You've been called back. Would you like to come back to Disneyland and do your job again?" I remember telling them on the phone, like, I moved. Like, now I live farther. I live like an hour away. Like, I don't know. And they're like, "Okay, well, just let us know." Okay. So I really had to think about it a lot and be like, this will be a complete like diversion in my career, in my life, and like what all my peers are doing. Like, is this stupid? Am I being selfish for making this choice and not going to like a corporate job or something as I should? But I think COVID really gave a lot of people my age sort of invaluable perspective of like, you never know what's going to happen. And not in a negative way, but like make the most of what you have now and enjoy the good things when they come to you. And like, don't take it for granted. So I said yes, and I went back to Disney. I finished my training. It was like way more fun this time too, because all of us had already done it before, so we remembered like a little bit of it. I was just so happy to be back and so like incredibly grateful. Like, I don't think I've ever felt that much gratitude. Well, no, I felt a lot of gratitude when I went to Vegas after the pandemic too. Just being like, thank God I'm back in the club. Like, thank God. But it was a similar thing with Disney where I was like, I thought this was over. Like, I'd fully accepted this was just never going to happen. But here I am, and they're literally paying me to do like the easiest, like most amazing job ever. So I was feeling very grateful. And that definitely sort of shaped my experience there too. Like, I knew I wasn't going to be there forever. I was going to give myself like around a year and then try to get a job with my degree and leave. So I was just fully committed for a year. I was like, I'm going to enjoy this 1 year. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to make the most of it. And I did. Like, I had so much fun. I miss it a lot, but it was a time in my life, like 21, 22, with like no responsibilities. So our training was pretty much the same the second time around, but this time I actually got to go out on stage as my character for the first time, and that was so exciting. And I was so nervous, like so nervous, like going to that bathroom like every 10 minutes, like nervous. But it was so easy because people like just see you as the character. They don't see you as, you know, your normal like flawed self. They see you as a princess, and they're just so ready to like go along with this character that like they're gonna love you. And so that gave me so much confidence too, just in my normal life, that if you approach situations, like, I'm gonna show up and just assume that things are gonna be okay and that people will like me. It really helped my confidence a lot working this job. So I had my put in day, which is what they call it when you do like a full day as your character, working a full shift, but your trainer is there all day long with you, and you guys just like spend the entire day together. You can ask them like any question you have. They'll give you feedback on each of your sets, and then if you're approved, they'll sign you off, and then you're going to start getting shifts. So that happened. I got approved, and then I was ready to start working. So it was definitely a big learning curve, just figuring out how the whole system works, how to do my makeup, how to do my wig, how to look like presentable, and then also how to have the confidence and be able to carry myself well in those situations and not come across as, you know, nervous, unconfident, like I don't know what I'm doing, because that's, you can't do that. So it took like a few shifts for me to fully like figure out what I was doing. And then of course there was a whole like backstage stuff happening too, having like a whole bunch of new coworkers, and they're all these performers that you've seen as you've been like shadowing people and watching them like on stage, just like being amazing. Like that Flynn Rider you just saw it on stage, like looking perfect, like you're like, that's Flynn Rider. Now he's sitting next to you on the sofa eating like French fries, and you just have to like talk to them and be like, hey, yeah, like I also work here actually. Like, you do get a tiny bit starstruck for the first few weeks working there. It's a little odd at first, but then once you're there for a bit, everything just becomes a lot more normal. It is just truly experience and wanting to put effort into your performance and just be good at what you do. Like, you'll get there after a few weeks, a few months. Like, then you're going to become that person for someone else, which was really cool to me. So I started working there around Christmas time too, which was just like the most magical thing ever, having the castle all lit up. And it was like Aurora's castle. So it was so like I would literally sometimes like have tears in my eyes leaving work because I'd walk past the castle to like get to my car, and my hair would look crazy because it'd be under a wig, it'd be like greasy and like sweaty, and I'd have like bright pink lipstick on. I'd be just like walking by in my little like Lululemon outfit, like my backpack, past like all these guests that I just met earlier that day as Aurora, and just kind of looking at them being like, they don't know. And like walking past the castle. It was so amazing and magical. And I'm so grateful for that experience, truly. So I can make another video going more in depth in any of this if you want. Just like leave me a question below about any questions you have. I'm sort of just skimming over things briefly so you can hear my whole story. And so this video isn't like 2 hours, let me know. But a few months in, casting reached out to me and offered me the role of the Wasp over in Marvel, which is like Ant-Man's partner. I said yes because I was like, it's something different, it's something new, it's nice, it's different, it's unusual. And like, I'm a nerd. I'm definitely more of a Star Wars nerd, but I can get down with Marvel. So I went over there and worked on the Marvel side too. And that was a completely different experience. So if you haven't been to Disneyland, it's split up half Disneyland and then half California Adventure. They're two separate parks. And the working environment there was so different. In Disneyland, you're with all the princesses and like the storybook characters. And then in California Adventure, you're with all the Marvel people. Like, there were a lot more guys there. Like, I would get to hang out with like the Thors and the Lokis. And then of course I had now a partner that I had to work with every day too, one of the Ant-Men. And that was such a new dynamic to have to play with, to have like someone there for almost every single one of your sets, that you guys are playing like a couple, you're playing partners, and you have to storytell together. And of course there's going to be some people you like really get along with and you have so much fun working with. And you can talk in the break rooms too, and you guys are just friends. And then there's some people where you just don't get along. But I grew to really love working over on the Marvel campus. I would get those shifts a lot because I don't think people wanted them, but they were so chill. I personally loved it. We would get to do so many fun things. Like, we would do the Christmas Hawkeye show. There was like a tiny little Bugs Land that we would get to show guests. It was so cute. And I just became really close with a lot of the people there and had a great time. In my final like few months of working at Disney, they gave me another character too, who was Megara from Hercules. And this was such a random call to get. I don't think I really look like her that much. I think my voice is probably pretty dry and sarcastic. And I do have like, I can like raise my eyebrow in a sassy way. Like, it was so fun because it was only like, I only did it, I think 4 nights total, like 2 separate weekends or something. It was honestly the coldest that I have, I think, ever been. I was wearing a toga, my toes were out, and it was probably like 40 degrees. It was really, really, really cold. And this was like 10 p.m. to like midnight. It was so cold that me and Hercules were literally like huddling for warmth. And I felt so bad for him because he didn't have any sort of like winter wear, like nothing. He was in like a tiny, tiny little outfit. But it was fine. It was a very special, fun experience. And then I ended up leaving like a month after that. So it was such like a high to go out on. And it was definitely hard to leave because I had made so many great friends there. I had become so just comfortable and familiar with working there, and I'd gotten like good at my job. I just was having a really good time, and I loved interacting with the guests. I loved talking to the kids, and I knew this was such a unique experience that I was never going to have. Like, it's a once in a lifetime experience, basically. I don't regret it at all. I see it as like a gap year almost. Honestly, it's a good fun fact. People ask me about it when they see it on my resume. I think it gave me a lot of good job skills too, just like life skills in general. It made me a better communicator, better speaker, and just more like, I don't know, more confident overall. So I would absolutely love to answer like any questions that you guys have. I could also have my roommate come do a video with me too if you want. And yeah, if you want to see my like sort of pros and cons of working at Disney video, I'm so happy to make that too, because I have lots of opinions. But overall, I'm so grateful that I got to work there. I had a really fantastic experience. I wouldn't change a thing. I'm so happy I got to tell you a little bit about it today. So yeah, let me know what you think. And maybe I met some of you guys too. Send me any photos you think you might see of me. I mean Aurora. Okay, I'll talk to you later.